Our next keynote speaker tonight is Bonnie Artman Fox. She tells us how to speak straight. During a Toastmaster meeting, have you ever wondered if you're getting constructive evaluations on your speeches? Do members volunteer for a meeting role and then bail out at the last minute? Do your club meetings ever feel like a dysfunctional family gathering? If you answered yes to any of these questions, you're going to be glad you're here. Our speaker has survived missteps and mistakes in honing her craft of speaking. She's grateful for the mentors and Toastmasters who have helped her identify blind spots and prevent oops moments on stage through their candid feedback. As a native of a small farming community in Chicago, she has a master's degree in psychiatric nursing and is a licensed family therapist. She coaches executive leaders to improve interpersonal skills and create healthy work cultures. Her first book, How Did My Family Get in My Office?, will be released in 2019. Here to help us speak straight, join me in welcoming professional speaker and relationship expert, Bonnie Artman Fox.
The great comedian Jerry Seinfeld tells the joke that according to most studies, people's number one fear is public speaking. Number two is death. Death is number two. Does that sound right? That means to the average person, when they go to a funeral, they would rather be in the casket than giving the eulogy. Like many of you, when I came to my very first Toastmasters meeting, I was sitting in a room full of strangers who were really talented speakers. When I gave my icebreaker speech, oh, my stomach was turning, my heart was racing, my voice was shaking. Even though my delivery wasn't very poised, somehow I got through it and didn't die. Good evening, Toastmasters! Do you remember your first Toastmasters meeting? Which it sounds like some of you, it's tonight. Welcome! If you're like me, when you finally mustered up the courage to face your fear of public speaking, there was something about Toastmasters that made it okay to face that fear. And whether you came to Toastmasters in order to think quicker on your feet and table topics appeal to you, or maybe you came to improve your English language, if English is a second language for you. Or maybe you came simply to get out of the house once a week as a social outing. Whatever motivation brought you to Toastmasters, there's something that drew you to come back. And that something is what I call speaking straight. Speaking straight. Which means communicating with care and candor as a catalyst for growth. Communicating with care and candor as a catalyst for growth. Now, just to be clear, speaking straight is not about giving somebody a piece of your mind just to get something off your chest. That is not what speaking straight is. What speaking straight is speaking honestly, even if it may cause conflict. And it involves three specific elements we'll be addressing this evening: care, candor, and catalyst. The first of care. As you know, the theme of this evening is We Are Family. And when I asked the conference committee why that theme was chosen, they said, it's easy. Toastmasters feels like a family because of the camaraderie, the connection, the genuine caring amongst members. It's that genuine caring that makes it safe to step outside our comfort zone, face our fears, because at the core, we know we're not going to be judged, ridiculed, or shamed. The genuine caring is the foundation of speaking straight that builds trust and respect. It was 6 years ago, the summer of 2012, when I moved here to southwestern PA from the Chicago area. I was already involved in a Toastmasters club outside of Chicago. And for any of you who have moved to a new location, you know that it can be a transition. It can be an adjustment. Even when the change was desired, and for happy reasons as mine was, it's still an adjustment to develop new friendships. One of the first things I did when I came here was to find a Toastmasters club to join. I know at Toastmasters I would be welcomed and find like-minded people who wanted to improve their speaking skills as well as grow as a person. One of the first people I met when I moved here was Sam Leader. From the moment I walked in the Greensburg Toastmasters Club, Sam was welcoming, and I could tell took a genuine interest in helping me to continue the momentum of my speaking. I wasn't just a name on the Toastmasters roster. I told Sam, this is a picture of Sam, for those of you who may know him. I told Sam I was new to the area and wanted to grow as a speaker and become a professional member of the National Speakers Association. Tonight, I want to give a public shout out to Sam because of his warm welcome, his genuine interest in me that supported me in reaching my goal of becoming a professional member of the National Speakers Association. Even though he's not here tonight, let's give a shout out to Sam Leader. Who is your Sam? Who is someone in Toastmasters because of their genuine interest in you, their warm welcome, helped you face your fears to achieve goals that at one point were only a dream? In preparation for this evening, I invited 3 Toastmasters to share their Sam stories. The first person is Rashmi. And Rashmi is going to share her story of the Sam person in her life. Please welcome Rashmi.
As a first timer, I can share my open secret. And that is that 1.5 years back, I was very horrible at public speaking. So scared always. So when 2 years back, I moved to United States, that time I joined Toastmasters Club. I started going there, and after going for a couple of minutes, I realized that I cannot do this. Forget about speaking, I cannot able to do any role. So I stopped going. I started giving a lot of excuses. No, this time I'm in Pittsburgh, here, there, and stop. After 2 months, I got an email from Sarah. Hey, I want to be your mentor. Are you interested? And that was the best thing happened in my life. I immediately said yes. And I started going to the meeting. I still remember our first meeting at Panera for my icebreaker. 1.5 hours, maybe. She always saw to it that I attend all the club contests, demo meetings, different club meetings, and the result? Within 1 year, I got my triple crown. CC, CL, and LB. Thank you. And not just that. Can you see this picture and my nervous smile on my face? That's because this was taken just before my icebreaker in disco dancing. And again, in year, I got my DD award. District director? No. Not even division director. Disco diva. And again, mentor is same. Sarah Sowry. My Sam. Thank you so much, Sarah. I got the chance to thank you in front of all.
Our next Sam story story will be from Dana.
Thank you, Donna. In 2010, I visited my first ever Toastmasters meeting at the BNY Mellon chapter. And this is where I got to meet this lady. From that first meeting, I did not ask her to be involved in my Toastmasters membership experience. She took the liberty to be a part of it on her very own. And I'm damn glad she did, because I learned an awful lot. She got me involved right from the start. 1 month in, I was already going beyond the club, helping out in area contests. And then 6 months later, she encouraged me to compete in table topics. And I made it to the divisional level in my rookie season. Now, she also evaluated my first ever icebreaker speech and would go on to evaluate another speech in my first CC run. But if it was not for her encouragement and the continuation for me to move forward, I would not have served as an area director, and I wouldn't be where I'm at today as the District 13 Division C Director. She's one of the reasons why I am serving in this role today. And I look forward to accomplishing a lot more, because I know that even though she's not here on earth, I know you're up there, Francine, and I thank you for all your support.
Thank you, Dana. Our next story is from Diane. Thank you, Bonnie.
So, have you ever walked down a hallway, someone comes up behind you, gives you a giant hug as you walk into the conference room? How does that make you feel? It made me feel great. I was walking into a conference room, and this woman with this big smile comes up to me and says, "Diane, we are having a Toastmasters meeting today. We are starting our chapter now. Come join us." I said, "Susan, how about you hire me first?" Fast forward 8 months later, I'm walking into the department, and again, this big, beautiful smile comes up to me and says, "Diane, we have Toastmasters tomorrow. Are you going to join us?" And I said, "Well, of course I am, Susan. How could I say no to that?" Now, let me give you a little history. This is my second time around with Toastmasters, about 12 years in between, and I have expectations. So I walk in to the Toastmasters meeting at Allegheny Health. I go through the door, and there is Miss Amy Knoll with this big old smile welcoming me in. I was totally sucked in. Now, these women, they uplift each and every team member besides myself. They are professional. They do what they need to help you succeed. How can I not be inspired by these women? They are my Sam. They are my family. Thank you, Bonnie.
Yes, thank you. As we've just heard, we come to Toastmasters to learn new skills. We stay because of relationships. The foundation of speaking straight is care. The genuine interest and care of helping one another grow and succeed. That's the first element of speaking straight. The second element of speaking straight is candor. I don't know about you, but I have blind spots. You know, those hand gestures, filler words, those habits that we do or say without realizing. Is there anyone else in this room that has any blind spots? Thank you, I'm not alone. Blind spots are the things we do unconsciously without even realizing it. A few years ago, Cal Newport wrote the book, So Good They Can't Ignore You. Isn't that a great title? I love that title. That quote came from the comedian Steve Martin. As he was excelling in his career as an entertainer, a younger entertainer, up and coming, said to him, "How did you make it?" Without missing a beat, Steve Martin said, "Be so good they can't ignore you." Cal Newport took that quote and wrote the book with the same title, So Good They Can't Ignore You. The subtitle is Why Skills Trump Passion in the Quest for the Work You Love. The premise is that, unlike what probably most of us have been told in life in order to excel, is to follow our passion. Cal says no. If you really want to excel in your career and stand out, choose a skill and master that skill through deliberate practice. He describes deliberate practice as practicing, get feedback, make adjustments, and practice some more. Then repeat. Just keep practicing. Not to practice just to practice, otherwise we engrave bad habits. The key is to practice, get the feedback, make adjustments, go out and practice some more. The beautiful thing in Toastmasters is we have a built-in avenue of deliberate practice. I see someone nodding their head, yeah. Through evaluations. Evaluations of both the speaker and the overall meeting. Evaluations are the pivotal place in Toastmasters to see past our blind spots in order to be so good they can't ignore us. Now, since this is family night, we're going to step up to the plate. We're going to have a little family meeting. As you heard from my introduction, I'm a family therapist by background. And yep, we're going to have a little family meeting. And this is an opportunity for us to talk candidly about what's happening in the family here. How are we getting along? Just like we talk about those things in our personal lives. As a family, it's important to be able to speak candidly, to be honest about how are we doing. First, I'm going to address my comments to leaders, whether you're an officer of a club, a district, area director, the rest of you can listen in. As a leader, you have an amazing opportunity to model the behaviors that drive the success of your club or your area or your district. When you model behaviors, make sure you are including in that behavior speaking straight. In order to speak candidly, with the foundation of care, and also providing members with specific suggestions about how they can improve. When you give specific suggestions along with your candid feedback, you are taking your members' experience to a heightened level of deliberate practice. Here's what I mean. Let's say you're evaluating a speaker who is, they tend to hold their arms real close to their chest, to their body. They look kind of stiff. The suggestion could be, lift your arms and your elbows as if giving your arms breathing space. That's a specific suggestion. A second suggestion could be, let's say a member has difficulty maintaining eye contact with their audience. You could suggest to them that outside of the meeting, when they're practicing, print out images of faces and place them in the room that they're practicing in before they come to the meeting. That way they're practicing that skill. Those are two specific suggestions that takes the member's experience of an evaluation to a heightened level. How often I have heard at meetings of, your speech was great. Great. I don't have anything to say. It was really good. Yeah. Remember, we all have blind spots. As a leader, model giving speak straight feedback with those specific suggestions. Now, also as a leader, part of your responsibility is giving feedback, bless you, about behavior of members in the club. Just like a family, we all have quirks, foibles, habits, behaviors that can rub each other the wrong way. Such as when a member consistently comes late to a meeting. Or maybe they sign up to give a speech or to fulfill a certain role, and then they don't show up at all. As a leader, it's your responsibility to pull that member aside and speak straight. Name the behavior, again with care and candor, and let them know how it's affecting the club and the overall functioning and health of the club. Yes, it's uncomfortable, and as a leader, it's part of your responsibility to protect the well-being and the health of your club. Now I'm going to speak to everyone, leaders, members, everyone in this room, including myself. It's wonderful to describe Toastmasters as family and the camaraderie and the connection, and those are all good things. We also know families can be dysfunctional. Even the royal family, you know, they had their stuff going on this week too. As a leader, as a member, part of growing and being so good they can't ignore us is having the mindset and the receptivity, the willingness, the humility to receive candid feedback, to be willing to grow. There's a saying, eat feedback for lunch. I don't know who said it, but it's a great saying. Eat feedback for lunch as a way to grow, and that's the way we become so good they can't ignore us. If we're not hearing candid feedback at Toastmasters, where are we hearing it in order to stand out? All right, that's it. Meeting's over. All right, the first element of speaking straight is care. The second element is candor. The third element of speaking straight is catalyst. By definition, the word catalyst means a stimulant that sparks a reaction. It spurs something to happen. In my Toastmasters club in Chicago, the Windy City Club, Stan was my catalyst for growth. Stan, like Sam, say that real quickly, has this innate ability to be able to acknowledge the strengths of a speech while also giving specific, candid feedback of practical ways of how to improve. I recently reconnected with Stan to let him know I wanted to give a shout out to him this evening. And he said, you know, Bonnie, I wasn't your mentor. I don't remember ever giving you any individualized attention. I said, no, you didn't. And I didn't expect it. But whenever you gave feedback, whether it was for my own speech or another member's speech, I always listened. Because your feedback was always so concrete. I knew what I could do to improve. He said, well, that's really good to hear, because I know I could be a little curmudgeon. His word, not mine. I said, I know. But I also know you cared. I know you have heart. And I knew that you cared so much about us that you didn't want those behaviors or those nuances, those blind spots, to get in the way of our success. Stan was my catalyst for growth. He made me want to get better. And he had no idea the impact that he's had on me. Here it is 6 years later, and I still remember things I learned from him. Those suggestions I gave you about lifting your elbows and planting the images in the room that you're practicing in, Those I learned from Stan, and it still sticks with me. Stan was my catalyst for growth. Who are you a catalyst for? Now, catalysts come in the form of individuals. They also come in the form of clubs. A few years ago, I had the opportunity to give my very first keynote speech. It was one of those things that I really hoped for, and then when it came, I'm like, ah! Kind of like what you were saying, like, ah, here it is, the opportunity. I practiced and I practiced. There was a lot at stake because it was being videotaped. There were prospects in the audience who could hire me to come into their organization. For several weeks leading up to the event, I practiced parts of the speech. 1 week before the event, I practiced the entire speech at the Oakmont Club, which here's the group that at the time this was our club. At the end of my speech, I got feedback. Speak straight feedback, remember? Needs work. That was a Thursday night. Over the next couple of days, I reworked the speech, incorporated the feedback, made adjustments. 3 days later, on Sunday night, some members of the club were willing to meet with me again so that I could practice, having incorporated the suggestions that they gave me. Remember, Toastmasters is family. And sometimes we help each other in ways it's not convenient. It was outside the club time. It was the weekend. It was away from their family. But they were there to be a catalyst for my growth. And because of their speak straight feedback, I delivered a powerful speech that led to future bookings. How much are you contributing to your club being a catalyst club in order to be so good they can't ignore you? Speaking straight is speaking with care and candor as a catalyst for one's growth. Speaking straight is the backbone that makes Toastmasters healthy. Speaking straight will push you to the edge of your capabilities. Toastmasters, step up to the plate and speak straight. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Bonnie, so much for that wonderful speech. I hope this encourages all of you